everyone! Today, a little bit late, I'm gonna do my top 10 of 2014. Really quick, I just wanted to mention, I'm very hard to please. It is very hard for a book to get on my favorites list. This year, I actually had a pretty easy time choosing 10. These are very loosely ordered from 0 to 10, and so I'm gonna start from 10 and go down to, wait, not 0, 1. So number 10, I actually have 2 books from this author. It was Lisa Schroeder. These 2 books are I Heart You, You Haunt Me, and The Day Before. Both I equally enjoyed and could not choose between. Lisa Schroeder writes in verse, so if that's something you think you'd like, she is amazing. I like these because I can't really get into Ellen Hopkins stuff. It's a little bit too dark for me, and these focus more on like family and boy problems, and it's very real. I cried the entire way through this book. I can count on one hand how many pages I wasn't crying during. This is a beautiful, haunting novel. Both of these are. This one's about a girl whose boyfriend dies and she starts seeing him in ghost form and that helps her let go. And this one's about a girl who goes to the beach when she meets a boy there. These are both hauntingly beautiful novels and I highly recommend them. Number 9 on this list is Inland by Kat Rosenfield. This book is about a girl who has had breathing problems her entire life. In a turn of events, her and her dad end up moving back to the ocean and those miraculously disappear. It's partially contemporary, it's partially paranormal, it's completely beautiful. The writing is amazing. It's incredibly well written, and it's not very romance heavy. It's a very, I almost want to say dark book. A lot of people didn't like this, but I completely disagree. I think it was just hauntingly gorgeous. Book number 8 is Stolen by Lucy Christopher. This book has quite a bit of buzz around it, and I'm sure you've heard of it, but it's about a girl who gets kidnapped. People say this is a book about Stockholm Syndrome, but I disagree with that. But I think this book was extremely different than how I thought it was going to be, and I loved it. I was glued onto it from page 1. It's just so encompassing and I couldn't put it down. The emotions in this book are just so real. This book is written in second person and it's such an amazing way to tell the story. I can't wait until I reread this book because I know every time I come back to it, I'm still gonna love it. It's a very different type of story and it's a very different type of characterization. So good. Number 7 is The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey. The Fifth Wave is about an alien invasion that comes in 5 waves, and Cassie, the main character, is one of the last remaining people and she's kind of having to fight back. I think Cassie is an extremely strong character. I'm not very excited for the movie because I think they're gonna ruin it, but I still think that that will translate really well on a film. She's very strong. The writing in this is amazing. I love the way that Rick Yancey writes. If you haven't tried either this or his other Monstromology trilogy, or I think it's called, he writes beautifully, amazing descriptions. The characters are just so lively, and this book is action-packed. This is a huge, well not huge, but this is a like 450-page book, and I was just glued onto it. I highly recommend all of these, but this is an amazing sci-fi. Number 6 is This Star Won't Go Out by Esther Earl. I read The Fault in Our Stars right around when it first came out, before I had my booktube, and I loved it. When I found out this book was coming out, I was definitely interested. I did not know in any way it would affect me the way it has. When people ask me what my most inspiring book is, or the book that stuck with me the most, it's this book. Well, if you don't know, Esther Earl died of cancer. She was a nerd fighter, so John Green wrote the introduction for her, but she was just an amazing girl. And she had written diary entries, she had written fictional works, and that combined with things from her friends and family is just all in this bind up of her works and her parents' works and her medical condition. This was done so well. I cried so hard. It was the type of sadness that I was crying because I was so upset that she's gone and she was such a good person. But also what she says is just so powerful that I was crying because I was just so inspired, and that's never happened to me before. I've never felt the way I felt reading this book. If you've read The Fault in Our Stars, I highly recommend reading this. Number 5 is Just One Day by Gil Forman. This book is about a girl who goes on a school, college-ish trip to Europe and ends up meeting a guy there who convinces her to take one day off just to have some fun for once in her life, and she goes with him. And it seems very cliche, but it is done so beautiful. I know I keep saying everything's beautiful, but this goes on a route that you would not expect it would go on. It seems like a light, fun contemporary, but it definitely deals with a lot of real problems. I related to this so much, and the emotions in this book felt real, and it was believable. This book tears you apart and puts you back together again. It is absolutely one of the best contemporaries I've read ever. Number 4 on this list is The Sky is Everywhere by Jandy Nelson. I read this a long time ago, but even right now, the one thing I remember about it is I was blown away by this book. I stayed up till 1:30 on a school night reading this, and I had cried, and it's so dark, but yet so real. This is, again, an amazing, amazing, amazing contemporary. I read this because Taha Mafi had said this is one of her favorite books, and I see why. It's about a girl whose sister dies, and she has to cope with that through boys, through family, through writing, and I think it's amazing. It's definitely a little bit sad, but it's very uplifting in the end, and it just has an amazing, amazing story. Jandy Nelson is probably my #1 favorite writer. Number 3 is The Young Elites by Marie Lu. I went into this book expecting it not to be that great, but I loved it. This book is a fantasy book. It's about people who have powers after this plague swept through the nation. And the people with powers are being hunted down, but they're in a group called the Young Elites, and they train together, and it's about a girl who joins the Young Elites. I haven't loved a plot, I haven't loved characters like these in a very long time. It's very hard to impress me in YA dystopian fantasy nowadays, and this stuck with me, and it's so good. The thing I love about this is that the main character is very different. She has a very dark power that could potentially ruin everything. Even though she uses it for good, it's a very scary thing. I love the way this is done. I even love the tiny side characters. I cannot wait for the next book to come out in 2015. That, I hope, will make it to my 2015 list. I can't say enough good things about this series. It's an amazing YA fantasy. Number 2 is Ignite Me by Taha Mafi, and I know, Whitney, number 2, what? A lot of people kind of stereotype me into thinking the Shatter Me series is flawless, but I did have some issues with this book, and that's why it's not number 1, but still, Warner, I think this book, I can't even speak. This book ruined me. Like, not in I can't speak. This book, the character development that occurred between Shatter Me to this book, they're not the same people. I don't want to get emotional, but this is like the last time I'll ever mention a Shatter Me book, or like have an excuse to hold it up other than a tag video. The Shatter Me series is absolutely gorgeous. The way it's written, the way the characters evolve. I can't even say enough good things about it. And I know I probably don't need any sort of explanation for this, but I really want to try and give you one. It's just, this series has changed my life, basically. I love this book. I think that's all I can say about it, because I can't even speak, but Ignite Me, amazing. And my #1 book of 2014 is I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. I'm becoming more and more incoherent toward the end of this video because I have no idea how to explain to you the way these books have impacted me, but this book, I don't even know how to talk about this. It just covers so many topics. It covers so many emotions. The writing is so beautiful. It's fast-paced. It's mind-boggling. It makes you think. It gives you feels. So many feels. This is a book for everyone. I don't even know where to begin. I cannot stress to you enough. If you haven't read anything by Jandy Nelson, that needs to be fixed. This book changed my life. This is a very hard book to explain, so I'm gonna just tell you the things that are in it. Death, homosexuality, social anxiety, finding yourself, regrowing after loss. It's such an impactful book. Oh no. These are like the precious books. You don't want to drop these. So in conclusion, I had a great reading month, or month. I had a great reading year in 2014. I've only read 3 books in 2015 so far, and I've loved all 3 of them, so I'm hoping that I'll continue to have amazing books just come into my hands and I'll be able to read those and hopefully have them in my top 10 of 2015. So thank you so much for watching this video, everyone. I hope you all had an amazing 2014. I hope 2015 will be just as great. Bye bye, everyone!